When someone hurts you, the real power isn't in proving anything to them. It's in removing them so completely from your life that their absence becomes their lesson. Erase him completely isn't about bitterness, it's about finally choosing yourself after choosing him for far too long. When you reclaim your peace, your silence, and your standards, life does the rest. His regret doesn't come from what you say, it comes from what he sees once you're gone. When you finally decide to erase someone from your life, it's rarely impulsive. It's the quiet decision that forms after countless moments of disappointment, disrespect, and emotional exhaustion. Choosing yourself without making it a performance is about understanding that real closure doesn't come from dramatic exits or long emotional speeches. It comes from the calm confidence of walking away because staying has already cost you too much. Most people think choosing yourself means proving something, showing him what he lost, or making sure he understands why you're leaving. But that's still giving him power, that's still centering him in a story that is supposed to be about you. Choosing yourself means redirecting the energy you've been pouring into someone who didn't value it, and finally using it to rebuild the parts of you that were neglected while you were busy loving the wrong person. There's something incredibly powerful about a woman who stops explaining herself. You don't need to justify why you're done. You don't need to convince him that your heart was genuine. You don't need to remind him of your loyalty, your effort, or the ways you stood by him. He knows people always know when they've had something good. They just assume it will never leave. And that's exactly why you must, because when you stay in a place you've outgrown, you shrink. You start dimming your light to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You tolerate bare minimum affection, inconsistent behavior, and the sting of being an option in a life where you made him a priority. Choosing yourself is about ending that pattern, not just with him, but for the rest of your life. The moment you choose yourself, something shifts internally. You stop waking up with anxiety about what mood he'll be in. You stop rehearsing conversations in your mind. You stop hoping that today will be the day he finally shows up the way you always did. When you erase him from your everyday life, mentally, emotionally, and physically, you create space for peace. And peace is something that emotionally unavailable men cannot compete with. That silence, that calm, that glow that returns to your face, that is what will stay with him long after you've gone. Your absence becomes the mirror he can't escape, because without you, he's left with the one thing he tried to avoid, himself. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. It means you care enough about your own well-being to stop sacrificing it for someone who never earned that level of access to you. It's a process, slowly detaching, slowly remembering who you were before the relationship drained you, slowly giving yourself permission to heal. And as you do that, you start realizing something he never did. Your value was never tied to how much he appreciated you. Your worth doesn't decrease just because someone was too immature to recognize it. Choosing yourself reminds you that the real prize was always you. He wasn't the loss, he was the lesson. And the beauty of choosing yourself is that you don't have to force anything. You don't have to hope he regrets it. You don't need to chase justice or closure. Life handles that. Regret comes naturally to people who mishandled what they weren't ready for. They realize too late that the heart they took for granted has now become unavailable to them forever. When you walk away with grace, with dignity, with quiet confidence, you become unforgettable. Because while he may move on to distractions, flings, temporary highs, or short-term excitement, nothing and no one will replace the peace, the love, or the loyalty you once gave. By choosing yourself, you become the one thing he can't erase, the one that got away because he didn't know how to stay. Removing emotional access is one of the most misunderstood but transformative steps in truly erasing someone from your life. People think blocking someone, Deleting their number or unfollowing them is the big move. But the truth is, those are just surface-level actions. The real erasing happens when you stop letting them occupy emotional real estate inside you. When you no longer allow their words, their silence, their opinions, or their absence to influence how you feel about yourself. Emotional access is the deepest form of access a person can have, and once you pull it back, even if they can still see you, they can no longer reach you. That's the part that creates real regret. It starts with recognizing how often you trained yourself to consider his feelings above your own. You filtered your decisions through how he might react. You minimized your needs because you didn't want to come across as too much. You tolerated mixed signals because you kept believing in the potential instead of the reality. When someone has emotional access to you, they don't even need to be present to influence your day. A delayed text can change your mood. A dry response can make you question your worth. A little attention can pull you back in. Removing emotional access is stepping out of that cycle, the cycle where your nervous system is tied to his behavior. You remove emotional access by doing something incredibly simple but incredibly powerful. You stop interpreting his actions as a reflection of your value. You stop taking his inconsistency personally. You stop giving meaning to his silence. You stop assuming that his inability to love you properly says anything about your capacity to be loved. When you detach emotionally, you see him for who he is, not who you hoped he would become. And that clarity is what breaks the bond. It's what frees you. This is where the real shift happens. When he can no longer trigger you, he loses control. When his behavior no longer derails your day, he becomes irrelevant. When he tries to come back with the same charm, the same excuses, the same "I miss you," and you feel nothing, that is when he realizes he lost the version of you he took for granted. Regret doesn't come when you block him or walk away. Regret comes when he realizes he no longer affects you, when he can't predict your emotions, can't manipulate your reactions, can't pull you back into the same cycle he thought you'd always fall for. Removing emotional access also means stopping the internal conversations you keep having with him in your mind. The imaginary arguments, the imagined explanations, the fantasies of him finally understanding what he lost, these are all forms of emotional access too. When you stop rehearsing those scenarios, you reclaim your inner world. You redirect your attention back to your life, your dreams, your self-worth. Without that emotional energy feeding the connection, the attachment dissolves. It becomes something you used to care about, not something you're still invested in. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop caring is the moment he starts. Not because he's suddenly grown or changed, but because people tend to realize value when they're no longer benefiting from it. When he reaches out and you respond with calm indifference, or not at all, he feels the shift. When you stop asking where things are going, he starts wondering. When you stop initiating, he becomes anxious. When you stop waiting for him, he starts worrying someone else will receive the love he wasted. Your emotional detachment triggers his emotional awakening, but the real victory isn't his regret, it's your freedom. When you remove emotional access, you're no longer tied to someone who wasn't tied to you. You start living from a place of strength instead of longing. You stop checking your phone for closure because you already gave it to yourself. And eventually, he becomes just another chapter, not the story. A lesson, not the loss. A memory, not a home. That's when you've truly erased him. And that's when life begins to give him a regret he'll feel long after you've moved on. Understanding that his regret comes from seeing the life you build without him is one of the most powerful truths about relationships and self-worth. Most people think regret is something they need to force, that they need to provoke with words, confrontations, or dramatic gestures. But in reality, Regret is not manufactured by what you say, it's triggered by what you show through your life. A man regrets losing a good woman not because she fights for him anymore, but because she grows, thrives, and elevates herself after walking away. Your life becomes a reflection of what he could have had, and nothing stings more than realizing that you're flourishing in a world where he no longer belongs. It starts with the small shifts. When you redirect your energy toward yourself, your goals, your passions, your health, your peace, you're silently creating proof that you weren't dependent on him to define your worth. You don't need to post it on social media. You don't need to announce it in a message. You just live it. And that's where regret begins. Because while he may have assumed your love was endless, he now sees that your attention, your care, your time, and your presence were all finite, and that the moment you decided to reclaim them, he lost access to a part of your life he never valued properly. Your growth doesn't just make you happier, it makes him uncomfortable. Men who are used to taking without giving suddenly notice what they no longer have. He sees your confidence, your clarity, the way you hold your head high, and he remembers that he never contributed to it. He remembers the late nights you stayed up caring, the support you gave him even when he didn't deserve it, and the patience you extended when he was distant. And he realizes that he squandered something rare. He didn't lose you in an argument, he didn't lose you by accident. He lost the version of love that he will never get back. Regret also grows because it's built on comparison. When he looks at your life now, he may see the doors that opened for you, the friendships and opportunities you embraced, and the peace you cultivated. He sees that the void he left isn't just empty. It's full of your independence, your fulfillment, and your unwavering self-respect. That contrast makes him confront the truth. He didn't just lose a partner, he lost someone who made life better simply by being in it. And unlike a fight or a dramatic goodbye, this kind of regret can't be denied, dismissed, or argued away. It's real because it's reflected in your reality. It's important to remember that your life isn't lived for him. You don't build yourself up to make him jealous or to force recognition. You do it because you deserve a life that matches your value. The irony is that the better your life becomes, the more clearly he sees what he lost. Every achievement, every smile, every moment of genuine contentment is a reminder to him of the love and devotion he wasted. And because you're living authentically, without reacting to him, the regret he feels isn't clouded by manipulation, it's raw, unavoidable, and entirely of his own making. The final piece of this keynote is that your happiness and growth are unstoppable forces. Regret can't reach you if your life is fully occupied with purpose, passion, and peace. You're not waiting for his acknowledgement, you're not craving his apology, and you're not hoping he changes. You're simply existing at the level you've always deserved, and in doing so, you illuminate the reality he ignored. And in that illumination, he feels the weight of his own choices. He's left to wrestle with what he allowed to slip through his fingers, while you move forward with confidence and grace, proving in every step that the loss was his, not yours. Understanding that erasing him is not revenge, but reclaiming your identity, is one of the most crucial lessons in emotional independence. Many people believe that walking away from someone who hurt them is about sending a message or making them pay for their mistakes. They think that cutting someone off, going no contact, or living well is a form of punishment, but the truth is, erasing someone from your life is never about them. It's about you. It's about rediscovering the version of yourself that existed before you shrank to fit into a relationship that didn't honor your worth. It's about reclaiming your energy, your peace, and your emotional sovereignty, which were always yours, even when he tried to take them for granted. When you stay in a situation that diminishes you, you begin to lose sight of yourself. Your thoughts, your time, your priorities, and your emotional bandwidth are constantly filtered through him, through his moods, his approval, his validation. A relationship that isn't mutual becomes a cage, and even though it may feel familiar, it slowly erodes the confidence and self-respect you once carried effortlessly. Erasing him is the act of stepping out of that cage. It is choosing not to let his choices dictate your emotions, and not letting his absence or mistakes define your self-worth. This is why reclaiming your identity doesn't require drama. You don't need to call him out, argue, or demand explanations. You simply remove yourself from the patterns that kept him central in your life. You stop reacting emotionally to his actions. You stop giving him the power to disturb your peace. You stop overthinking his intentions or looking for signs of regret. Each day you act in alignment with your values rather than in reaction to him. You strengthen the parts of yourself that were neglected while you were busy making him the priority. This is identity reclamation in action, quiet, intentional, and entirely for you. When you erase someone completely, the first thing you notice is the freedom it brings. Decisions that once felt complicated because of him now feel simple. Moments of self-doubt, which were fueled by his inconsistency or neglect, are replaced by clarity. The voice inside that wondered if you were too much or too sensitive becomes quiet, because you're no longer negotiating your worth with someone who never saw it. You start living according to your own standards instead of bending to meet his, and that alignment is transformative. You become the woman you were before you overextended for someone who didn't reciprocate. What makes this keynote so powerful is that your transformation becomes undeniable to him. When he observes the life you've built without him, your confidence, your joy, your peace, it's a reflection of the strength he failed to appreciate. He may feel regret, but that's his experience, not yours. You're not erasing him to provoke it. You're erasing him because you finally remembered who you are when you're not defined by someone else's limitations. That reclamation of self is far more potent than any confrontation could ever be. It teaches him a lesson about value and consequence without you ever having to articulate it. Reclaiming your identity also requires how you approach future relationships. Once you've erased someone who diminished you, you learn to recognize patterns that are no longer acceptable. You understand the importance of mutual effort, respect, and emotional availability. You stop apologizing for needing consistency or loyalty because you've seen first, and what happens when those needs aren't met. In this way, erasing him doesn't just repair what was lost. It protects your future by creating the boundaries and standards you deserve. Ultimately, erasing him is a declaration of self-respect. It's saying that you will no longer tolerate someone who does not meet you at your level, that your time and emotional energy are precious, and that your identity is non-negotiable. It is a quiet, powerful form of strength, one that doesn't require words, explanations, or drama. It is proof that you were never the problem, that you never needed to shrink, and that the life you build without him is a life fully in your control. This is how true reclamation of self happens, not in reaction, but in presence, in growth, and in unwavering alignment with your worth. Realizing that his regret is not something you create, but something he cultivates when you stop trying, is one of the most liberating truths in emotional empowerment. Many people fall into the trap of believing that making someone regret losing them requires strategy, manipulation, or confrontation. They think if they post the right picture, send the right message, or appear in the right place, they can provoke remorse. But real regret doesn't come from anything you do deliberately. It comes naturally from your absence, from your refusal to continue accommodating someone who never matched your effort, and from the quiet reclaiming of your energy and boundaries. When you stop trying, when you step back and live fully without waiting for him, the consequences of his choices begin to unfold in a way that no words or actions could manufacture. It begins with understanding the ways you may have overinvested emotionally. Perhaps you explained your feelings too much, forgave too easily, or adjusted your life to fit around his moods. You may have anticipated his needs while he failed to anticipate yours. While you were emotionally available, he had access to your care and attention without truly earning it. That kind of access creates dependency on his part, an assumption that your love and effort will always be there, no matter how he behaves. But the moment you stop offering that access, the illusion shatters. The moment you stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop accommodating, the truth becomes undeniable. You are no longer there to fill the gaps he left behind. Regret manifests not because of what you post or say, but because he sees, in the real world, the absence of your energy. When you live independently, with boundaries intact and your focus on growth, he experiences a void that he cannot fill. No amount of excuses, charm, or attempts at reconciliation can replace the presence he ignored. He begins to notice that the patience, the support, and the care he took for granted are no longer available. He realizes, often too late, that the person who gave without limits was not an unlimited resource. That recognition triggers regret, not because you made it happen, but because he failed to cultivate what was given freely. Another aspect of this is the internal shift it causes in you. When you stop trying to manage his emotions, explain his behavior, or seek validation from him, you reclaim your autonomy. You begin to see your worth clearly, independent of how he behaves or responds. That clarity is profoundly liberating because it breaks the cycle of expectation and disappointment. You are no longer defined by his recognition or approval. You are defined by your actions, your choices, and your commitment to your own growth and peace. And as you become fully absorbed in your own life, your absence becomes a mirror reflecting the consequences of his negligence. It's important to understand that regret is rarely immediate. People who take for granted what they had rarely realize the depth of their loss until the moment it cannot be recovered. He may attempt to reconnect, to provoke an emotional response, or to test the boundaries he once ignored. But if you've stopped trying, if you've removed emotional access and reclaimed your peace, none of his attempts will succeed in altering your reality. The gap between what he has now and what he once had becomes painfully clear to him, while you continue to live fully, untouched by the desperation or manipulation he may exhibit. Finally, the power of this lies in the fact that it frees you from emotional responsibility for someone else's growth. His regret is his own. It is not your duty to teach him a lesson or prove your worth. Your role is to protect your heart, honor your peace, and continue to move forward. By stopping the effort you once gave to someone who didn't match it, you allow life to handle the natural consequences of their choices. Your presence is no longer a service he can take for granted, and that absence becomes the most effective teacher he will ever encounter. It is quiet, inevitable, and irreversible, a form of justice that doesn't require your energy, only your commitment to yourself. Understanding that your peace and growth will speak louder than any words ever could is the culmination of erasing someone from your life and reclaiming your power. Many people believe that closure or proof of worth comes from confrontation, from messages, calls, or trying to make someone feel what they did to you. But the reality is that true impact is created silently through the way you rebuild your life, nurture your well-being, and reclaim your energy. Your peace becomes the most undeniable evidence of your value, and it teaches the lesson he refused to learn while he still had you. That love, loyalty, and care cannot be taken for granted. When you decide to erase someone completely, the first step is internal. You stop analyzing, obsessing, or replaying every interaction in your mind. You stop assigning meaning to what he does or doesn't do. You stop wondering whether he thinks of you or regrets his choices. That mental disengagement is critical because emotional access is not just about proximity, it's about the hold someone has on your thoughts and your self-worth. By removing that, you create a calm, unshakable foundation from which your actions, your energy, and your presence can radiate independently of him. That calmness, that unwavering focus on yourself, is far more impactful than any argument or plea could ever be. As your life begins to flourish in his absence, the contrast becomes undeniable. Every achievement, every step of personal growth, every moment of authentic happiness acts as a reflection of what he failed to nurture. He begins to notice that the woman he once overlooked or undervalued is no longer defined by him or waiting for his acknowledgement. The confidence you radiate, the joy you cultivate, and the peace you hold become living proof that you were never the problem. Your life, your choices, and your presence are now entirely yours. And that is what triggers true regret in someone who did not respect or prioritize you when they had the chance. This also emphasizes that your healing and progress are not for him. They are for you. There is no need to perform or exaggerate. No need to seek validation through the awareness of his regret. Your peace is inherently powerful because it is authentic. When you walk into a room, when you engage with the world, when you pursue your dreams and nurture your relationships without referencing him, you are living proof of your independence. That independence highlights the absence of the effort he once failed to provide, and it communicates more truth than any conversation ever could. The most subtle and profound aspect of this principle is that your peace forces him to confront himself. While you no longer expend energy on controlling his emotions or seeking his acknowledgement, he is left to reckon with the consequences of his choices. He realizes that the connection he took for granted cannot be reclaimed simply by asking for it back. He begins to see that the love and care he ignored were rare, and that the absence of your energy and attention cannot be replicated elsewhere. Your life becomes a mirror of his own failures not because you intended it, but because you prioritized yourself over someone who never matched your effort. Furthermore, this teaches that peace is a form of unspoken strength. When someone sees you thriving without them, calm, confident, and fully in control of your own emotional world, it communicates lessons about boundaries, self-worth, and accountability more effectively than confrontation ever could. You no longer need to explain yourself or justify your decisions. Your consistent presence in your own life, free from his influence, embodies the reality he failed to recognize. Ultimately, this is about reclaiming your life fully. By prioritizing your peace and focusing on your growth, you ensure that your absence speaks volumes. It is the culmination of erasing him completely, not with anger or revenge, but with calm dignity and unwavering self-respect. Life handles the rest, and his regret becomes a natural byproduct of the strength, confidence, and fulfillment you cultivate when you choose yourself above all else. Your life becomes the statement, your peace becomes the proof, and he is left to witness the consequences he refused to prevent. In the end, erasing him completely isn't about revenge, it's about reclaiming yourself. Your peace, your growth, and your unwavering focus on your own life become the loudest message he will ever receive. While he's left to face the regret of what he lost, you move forward stronger, freer, and fully in control of your story. The lesson is clear: when you choose yourself, life handles the rest.